Hello everybody, welcome to the Two Schmoes Show. I got a compression pedal. It sounds cool. I like it. Yeah. I also got a fucking wolf sticker, which is badass, and it's another reason why this is the greatest fucking state in the union.
It really is.
Really. If you seek a pleasant peninsula, look about you. Not looking at you though, Florida. Fuck you.
Like, where else gets werewolf I voted stickers? It's just, there is no one even close.
Well, okay, so I guess we can start with this for the show, because quite frankly, this is a nice little fluff piece compared to what we have going on. Have you seen the early voting stickers altogether?
I saw them in the Last Week Tonight piece that they did about them.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen all of them. I'm looking at them now, but I have seen a couple of them.
So we have wonderful children drawn stickers for our I Voted stickers this year.
Mm-hmm.
These kids, they got the zeitgeist. Not only do we have the fucking legendary furry wolf right there.
Mm-hmm. They cooked.
They cooked. We have the I Voted with a backwards E, yay sticker.
Yes. I voted yay.
The I'm cool, I voted sticker where it looks like a Lego minifig is saluting the flag.
Mm-hmm.
We have the fucking Michigan lighthouse with the sun rising in the distance, I voted light.
A little bit busy, but I like the idea.
I love the rainbow color of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, every color is represented great, just like our fucking democracy. Good job, child. We have the overly realistic deer that says, I voted.
Yeah. A deer with, like, snowboarding goggles and a baseball hat.
You know, it's better than I could draw for a deer. That American flag eye on there as well. Very original. We have the little creature imp that says, hooray, I voted.
That's a good description. I was thinking, like what? How do you call that? But yeah, it is just a creature.
It's just a creature.
He's saying hooray.
He's saying hooray because, fuck yeah, it's Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
We have the gray tiger, striped cat with the Uncle Sam hat with the I voted sticker.
Mm-hmm.
We have Ope, I voted. Ope, I voted indeed.
Excellent.
Good shit. And
in terms of like actual designs, I feel like that is the clear like standout where the vast majority of these do look like
their hand
child or someone in school age still drew them. This one looks like actual professional work. It's very good.
And it's from my own GR represent.
Oh yeah.
And then we have the fucking bass that says I voted on it.
Yep, I voted sort of like inscribed into the scales along its back.
That's metal as fuck. All of these stickers.
Like, the werewolf I voted is just, it's peak.
It's peak. It may not be the best one drawn, but it's too good to ignore.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was still drawn by an actual child, so,
yeah,
there's an upper limit to how good, per se, it's going to be, but it has the energy that it needs.
Yeah. Full disclosure, this is better than I could draw at that age, so...
Oh, absolutely, yeah, same.
This is talent. This kid's going places. Other than that, I'm the infamous Orion, and I voted.
And I'm Chiral, and I voted.
Your ass is grass, Donnie. The FBI
so let's get into this
is going to start listening to this podcast now. I just secured us so many viewers. You're welcome, Chiral.
Donald Trump, we're going to kill you at the ballots
at the
in
polls.
Minecraft.
You know what? If I was in the fucking FBI and my job was to listen to this podcast, I would think my job's not that bad. Where were we, Kyril? What were you going to do before I made that joke about the FBI listening to us?
Yeah, I was gonna jump in on our pre-election coverage. We're gonna be off next weekend, so we're gonna be going in on what the hell's happening.
What's happening now?
I feel like the big story here, and this is something that is like, I feel like if there isn't some sort of thumbing of the scales happening, right? There is some clear amount of incompetence happening here in the way that they have established these voting simulations, right? There's obviously pretty well established at this point history of how relatively useless a lot of polls get to be when there's a close race. We saw this in both of the last elections where the polls were kind of scattered a bit, but just sort of reaching out to make a conclusion where there really wasn't one a lot of times. And it is unsurprising, but frustrating to see that continue into this year.
Correct.
So let's go through some of these. I don't think there's any, like, there's very few specific polls that I actually want to look into because there's so many of them, right? That you could like pick one and dig into it. I'm more curious when it comes to the way, in this case at least, we're going to be focusing on Project 538. That we found was actually owned by ABC as we were making this. Didn't realize that in the past. ABC, who is owned by the Walt Disney Company.
Correct.
But they have a number of simulations that they've done. And I want to talk about some of them because they, assuming that their simulations are accurate, and I do not believe that they are, they're talking about events that genuinely have not happened in our lifetime, having a not unreasonable chance of happening. The first thing that I want to point out is that their little 538, who is favored to win the 2024 presidential election simulator, only ran 1,000 instances, which is probably fine in most cases. But to me, when I see people who do sports statistical analysis or like actual hard mathematical statistical predictions using modeling software, 1,000 is like a fine number, but given where our technology has advanced to at this point, there's not a great reason to only do 1,000 simulations of something. Why not do 10,000? Let your simulation run for another day or whatever, right? It's not going to hurt your numbers to have more information put in there. And computationally, there's not a good excuse not to do that. So just off the bat, that kind of stands out as me just being like, kind of like, what's going on here? Why have you done it? Why did you stop there? It's arbitrary, but then they have to stop somewhere. I don't like that, just personally. The other aspect of this that seems kind of strange is that they have a section later down in their piece here that says how the popular vote translates into electoral votes. And they have a little bit of a, you know, like a political alignment chart almost, comparing who wins the election relative to who wins the popular vote. And they don't give a ton of information here, which is kind of frustrating. They have their 1,000 little simulation dots. But the thing that really stands out to me here is that visually, and it's hard to tell because they don't actually give you the numbers here, which is a thing that they do in quite a few of these graphs, where it's just like, here's this fancy looking graph. Make your own conclusions from it. And it would be nice if they could interpret the graph that they've made. But visually, it appears like they are suggesting that there is about a 30% chance that Trump somehow wins the popular vote nationally.
Okay, can we just pause for that real quick?
Yeah. Yes.
Where the fuck do they get this idea that he can win the popular vote when he's
I agree.
never won the popular vote?
It does not make sense. He has not come close to winning the popular vote. I had to look it up because in the 2020 election versus Biden, he was down by like 4 points in the national popular vote. And for whatever reason, they have, like, I wish I could count these to like see like what are they actually claiming here. But it is complete nonsense. And this is a pattern that goes back well before our current election cycles. We had this during the Obama elections, during the Bush election, right? The Republican candidate is not at all even close to favored to winning a popular vote, regardless of how that pans out in terms of electoral numbers.
Correct.
And it is extremely strange to see that positioned as it is here.
So I just also want to point out how weird this graphic is, because like you see the little correlation line going through, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they have like little dots to represent what the electoral college will look like if it's an exact match of 2020 and 2016. Like there's a little star in the middle. Why in this map do they show the 2016 one as bigger than the 2022 and 2021? 2021, I want to point out on this map, is centered right in the middle of the Kamala wins predictions, whereas the 2016 one is very clearly towards the outlier of like the Trump wins predictions. Yeah. Just why? Why do you have to represent your data like that?
Mm-hmm.
Also, they kind of show it in this weird way where it looks like Harris only has like half the opportunities that Trump has, because with the correlation line, it misses a whole quadrant of the data, like outcomes. That's fucked up. I do not like that. I do not like that, Sam I Am. I do not like that with green eggs and ham.
Yeah, something that I find really fascinating is that you can, let me double check actually. Just comparing to the past two elections in particular, it's very easy to mark where those popular vote boundaries were.
I agree.
Let's see. Yeah, that was a whole thing. So in 2016, Trump had 46.1% of the vote. In 2020, he had 46.9% of the vote. And in their models here, they are overwhelmingly indicating that he's going to have at least 50% of the vote. If not, even if like you go back to like 40, 48s, 49s, those are on the fringes of their prediction. And it's just not based on the reality of anything that we have seen yet. It feels almost like journalistic malpractice to make the same data analysis claims as they did last year and then not make a comparison to how similar the current polling situation is to last year relative to the outcome.
Yeah, I agree. It's really irresponsible. I mean, I get it because the scenario can only exist in numbers, and that's what they're trying to present the story as. Mm-hmm. But at the same point, it's a little irresponsible to say that there's no precedent for an election where the same candidate has ran against three separate people 3 separate times.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So I actually found apparently back in August, they published an article on ABC News that's fairly long that goes into more of the specifics of how they have their forecasting established.
Okay.
And I'd be very curious to dig into this sometime. But a couple of things that are immediately jumping out to me is that they group the U.S. into pretty broad political regions, including having like New Mexico, Colorado, Arizona, and Nevada all in the same political group. And likewise, you have places like Iowa in the same as Michigan and Wisconsin, which is just like feels not strictly wrong, but like you're ABC News. You don't have to do this. Why can't you just make your models state by state? Because that's how it's actually calculated.
I will also argue politically, okay, Midwestern culture wise, yeah, but politically, there's like very little in common.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, quite frankly, like, let's put up Michigan and Ohio for a second, right? Because like, those are obviously the ones we have the most experience with. Michigan is a border state with Canada.
Yep.
Ohio ain't got that. So, quite frankly, we have a little bit more politics in our area just from having that relationship with another country. We also have Detroit, which I don't know if you know this, Kyril. I don't know if many people know this. It's like kind of a big deal having fucking Detroit. Mm-hmm. And Great Lakes and environmentalism. I'm sorry, Ohio. A Great Lake is better than a fucking field of corn, and that makes us have to be more politically active than fucking Ohio. What I'm saying is, Ohio is not politics, it's a mental disease.
So I have found the buzzword here that kind of unravels the whole thing.
Yo.
At the very bottom of their page, they have a section that says, "What do the polls or fundamentals alone say? Our forecast is based on a combination of the polls and various economic and political variables we call fundamentals. This chart shows how we get the polls today to a forecast for election day." They go through their polling averages. They have the state of the public opinion today, according to their average of national polls, an adjusted polling average, which is adjusted for the results of state polls and the effects of party conventions. And then they get into weighting of their forecast components. They give a 97% weight to the forecast of polling average on election day, the adjusted polling average with uncertainty intervals that accounts for potential movement in the race between now and election day. This does not account for the chance that the polls systematically underestimate one candidate.
What the fuck did you just
That's a pretty fucking big thing to factor.
Yeah. Yeah. What's the point of having a poll if it doesn't do that?
Yeah. And then they ultimately have that baked into their full forecast, which is our final forecast of the popular vote based on a weighted average of the polls and fundamentals using the weights above. This accounts for the chance that the polls systematically underestimate one candidate. And under that model, they give it the popular vote to the Democrats plus 1.6 based on current factors. But that would still be an unprecedented popular vote difference. Let me see if I can find a quick, just like rundown. List of the elections by popular vote. So what is this weighted by? Turnout, electoral college, popular vote, margin. Okay. Go back. So, going back in the past elections, in 2020, Biden won by a popular vote margin of 4.45%.
Okay.
In 2016, Clinton won the popular vote by 2.09%. In 2012, Obama won the popular vote by 3.86%. Then in 2008, 7.24. Bush by 2.4 in obviously 2004, which has a whole bunch of asterisks on it. Bush lost the popular vote in 2000 by 0.51%. And then going back into Clinton, he won the second time by 8.5% of the popular vote, won the first time by 5.56%. So you really have to go back to 1988 to get numbers that align with what their predictions are saying. And it's just like, just put an asterisk on it. Just say, we don't know.
Bro,
but no,
wait.
They run with it.
Did you just reference the fucking 80s?
Yeah.
You mean the Reagan era?
Basically.
The undisputed heavyweight champion of presidential elections, Ronald Reagan?
Mm-hmm.
They're using that outlier for their data to support 40 years later.
How is this marked here? Sorry, just give me a sec here. I'm trying to piece this together. Oh, I see.
What's up?
They are indicating separately between whether it's just phrased kind of awkwardly because they have on the Wikipedia page here one for the winner lost the popular vote and another one that says winner did not receive a majority of the popular vote. So they have one of these highlighted. So like what happened in 2016 where Trump won but did not have the majority of or did not win the popular vote. So they have that highlighted in one color. But then they have for Clinton's terms, where he won both the election outright, of course, and the popular vote, but he only had a 49.23% of the total popular vote of all votes cast. So they have that marked separately because he did not have a majority. He did not have more than 50% of the popular vote, which makes sense. It's just kind of formatted awkwardly, and it's a very large Wikipedia page. So you have to scroll way up and way down.
Man, I'm just kind of going through from like the Reagan administration to current day, and I forgot just how fucking conservative this country was back like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Cause like,
and it's really insidious too, because arguably, I think, not even arguably, I think just logically, you can very well make the claim that Bush should not have won the 2000 election.
Correct.
And from that, if he had not won that election, there would be zero chance of him being elected later in 2004. And it completely changes the landscape politically from there out.
Oh, totally. Like, let's face it, a lot of modern politics today are still reverberations of the like collective reaction to 9/11.
Yeah. Well, and also just the general regression that happened during that period. If we had gone from 2 years of Clinton into 2 years of Al Gore into 2 years of Barack Obama, by the time you get to 2016, the landscape of the United States, both politically and economically, it's nowhere close to where it is.
Fair.
So, yeah. Ultimately, like the bottom line of this is that I just wish that these pollsters would just do better. You know?
Yeah, I agree.
I'm curious. One of the other statistical things they have here is a percent of the likelihood that a given state ends up being the deciding state for the election. Yeah, but as like a tipping point percent is how they describe it. The probability it will give the Electoral College winner their 270th vote. Currently, the 5 that are trending above 10% are Pennsylvania, North Carolina, which I was not suspecting, Michigan, Georgia, and Wisconsin.
Well, yeah, the swing states.
And North Carolina.
I mean, have you seen the polling numbers there? It's getting honorary swing state status.
Okay. And that very well could be the case where you could see, like Michigan and Wisconsin used to be kind of swing states, and we're shifting away from that in our averages, especially when you look at where our voters stand on, non-presidential issues, right?
Yeah.
The ballot amendments that we had in 2020, for example, were very clear cut swung in one direction, where there's no swing there. It's just one side won. So it very well could be seeing something like North Carolina coming in as filling that gap, because somebody's got to be the swing state, right?
Well, I mean, so
the two things. Yeah.
I'm at the early voting election results so far.
Yep.
And if we're talking about straight tickets, North Carolina now, right, with about 2.5 million ballots put in.
Mm-hmm.
Republicans 35%, Democrats 33%, and then other non-registered votes 32%.
What was the total early ballots so far?
2.5 million.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Full credit to the North Carolinians. I actually don't know which
Corlians?
But that's pretty much 25% of their total population. So significantly more of their voting age and registered population. So full props to them. That's awesome to see. Just that big of numbers.
Dude, the numbers are so impressive this year. I'm not gonna lie. What was it? Georgia. Georgia, I think, is also hitting the 25% mark. Let me double check. GA population 2024 projected to be about 3.6 million or 3.8 million. That's according to Google AI, so I don't know if I trust that. Is that Georgia the country?
Mm-hmm. If that's accurate,
yeah,
that's more than half of their active voting population.
I do not know if I trust that.
I would take it with a massive grain of salt. But on its own, I wouldn't have any strong reasons to doubt it. It is going to be sort of like the states to watch, I feel like, are really going to be Georgia and, strangely, Texas. Texas is probably not going to swing the way that someone like me would hope for the presidential election, but it is very interesting to see what is happening there for Ted Cruz's seat, where early polling has what's his name? Is it Allred? Colin Allred, polling extremely close to Ted Cruz at the state level. He's the Democratic nominee.
The fact I saw Ted Cruz do a campaign interview on Fox News told me he was not feeling confident.
No. Other standouts from the 538 analysis here is that they have both Arizona and Georgia in the leaning Republican spot, which very well could be the case, but would be a bit surprising given how they trended last year. Feels like their margins are a bit generous to not include them in the toss-up category.
Fair.
All right, skimming through here again, make sure I'm not missed anything. So this is another interesting one. I don't know if you've seen this one. The "What does the path to 270 look like" graphic that they have.
Probably. I feel like I've seen everything a million times by now, but that one just, I don't remember what it looks like. Oh yeah, the little fucking worm.
Yeah, it's interesting. It feels very. I would call it contradictory to their other polling.
I agree.
In the who's favored to win each state thing, right?
Yeah.
They have Michigan at 52-48. And then you go down there, and they have Michigan at 50-50. It's like, okay, which one is it?
It's too close to call.
Colorado, 5644. Yeah, I don't know. It's... I wish they would be better.
I really just don't like this graphic at all. Because, like, even if you kind of did, I don't know, it just feels icky to present data in such a unorganized way.
I agree. Here's another fun statistical piece. And this is the kind of thing that where it's just like, okay, let's assume, right, that their information, the underlying information is accurate, right? That's a big assumption. But assuming that it is, and that the issue is coming in somewhere in their interpretation, but that the underlying polls are true and being conducted appropriately, and that the averages of them are reasonable. They have, in their simulation, Trump at 54 out of 100 to win. But if you look at their favorability charts, they have Trump falling behind Kamala by more than 7 points on favorability.
You may not like him, but man, he would make such a good president.
Right, and I guess that is ultimately the case, where it's just like massive amounts of people acting either irrationally or explicitly against their own interests, where there is probably going to be a very substantial number of people who would rate Trump unfavorably, rate Harris, their opinion of her, favorably, and then still vote for Trump regardless. That's the only way that it makes sense, right? That's just how the numbers work out. Like, assume what Trump has 43.4% favorable, right?
Yeah.
So he's got 43.4% of the vote already. Harris has 46.4, so she's got that done already. That leaves 3.6 and 6.6% of the vote. So 10.2% in that undecided gap between their explicit favorable range, which coincides pretty closely to the deficits between their favorable and unfavorable ratings. Trump is unfavorable by 8.7% and Harris is unfavorable by 1.4%. You add those together, you get 10.3, which is pretty damn close to 10.2. So it's just like, where is this coming from? Where all of a sudden you have a 7-point gap between these in the sort of like undecided gap that exists between their favorable and unfavorable ratings, that the vast majority of those go in Trump's when it actually to Trump's end when it actually comes to being on the ballot.
What you don't understand is like the last election was actually stolen.
I don't understand it.
Yeah.
I want to understand it.
Yeah.
I guess that's a good jumping off point to talk about one of the kind of only, honestly, major news things that sort of happened this week was that Trump went on the Joe Rogan Experience. And
yeah,
it was kind of a disaster for Trump.
Dude, like, I think he went in there expecting Joe to give him a curveball. And, like,
yeah.
I haven't followed the Joe Rogan podcast since like everything started going to shit. Mm-hmm. But from what I understand is most people are like making jokes about how he was actually kind of like having a crush on Kamala lately. I feel like this is just one of those cases where, yeah, I think Trump massively misunderstood the assignment.
Mm-hmm. Definitely feels like it. Expected to go in just getting a bunch of softball questions, and that was not the reality.
Yeah, I mean, good on Joe.
Mm-hmm.
You should probably apologize for all those people that you made take horse immunization. Or what was that shit back in like 2020? You know what I'm talking about, right?
I do, yes. The dewormer.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. I wouldn't go quite that far, personally. Um, but I did appreciate from what I was seeing getting actually distributed from it was that there was like pushback, right?
Yeah.
And that was very welcome, just to be like, have somebody sit across from him in a space where he thought was going to be completely safe and just be just like, is it really? Can you show me? And he completely falls flat.
I've noticed that a lot about Donnie's campaign this time around. He says
Yep.
he comes in with bravado and all that jazz. Dude has not been able to bounce back from the slightest bit of pushback. And like, I don't know if just he's older, he just doesn't have the mental stamina like he used to. But like, watch a lot of old Donald Trump interviews from like the glorious 2016 period he had. Like, dude just doesn't fight anymore.
Mm-hmm.
He is an old dog that needs to just get shot in the back in Minecraft.
Minecraft. And hey, his constituents are trying.
That is true.
All right. You want to talk some movies? Let's talk some movies.
I like movies.
I'll let you take the reins on this first one because it's one that you've been very excited for a while. Venom: The Last Dance. Tom Hardy returns as Venom.
Okay, so full disclosure, I've not seen this movie yet.
Okay, I didn't think so.
I have a friend. We were supposed to go see this. He's having work issues.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, who isn't at this point? But
Right.
we're basically waiting for his schedule to clear up before we go see it.
Fair
However,
enough. Have you been skimming any of the reviews?
I have, and I
Okay.
am excited to see how schlocky this is.
Yeah, not very positive. Who would
Not
have guessed?
positive at all.
Audience scores are pretty fine. Like right now, it's at 79%. Not a huge number to go off of for the verified audience reviews, but 79 from audiences, 36 from critics. This is a very good one. Sarah Mars, expect less and never be disappointed.
I mean, that's what I'm going into with this.
Yeah, I feel like you kind of have to. You know, you just go in hoping for entertainment rather than cinema, right?
You know, I'll say this, right? The MCU's reputation going down has probably done the most beneficial, most benefits to the Venom movies, because quite frankly, go into them and try to expect an MCU movie, you're going to come out disappointed. You go into them and you expect a dumb superhero movie or something just schlocky, and oh my god, they will surprise you. Not by like them being higher quality than you think they are. They are not that high quality of movies, but goddamn, they are fun.
The reviews are pretty fun for it. Definitely well worth a skim through. There's a pretty good range of opinions on it, where there's some that are just like, yeah, this is bad. There's some that are just like, yeah, this is fine. But there's a surprising amount of them that are just like you're saying, just go in to not expect a peak thing and you'll enjoy it because it's, you know, a big dumb action movie.
I mean, like, there's a thing with audience expectations nowadays,
Mhm.
where I think because of like this whole zeitgeist of movie criticism Twitter and movie Twitter,
Yes.
that people expect every fucking movie to be a cultural phenomenon. I'm looking at you, fucking Barbenheimer. Can I make one big statement for you, right?
Please.
Barbenheimer, big cultural phenomenon. Don't get me wrong. One of those movies is not as memorable as the other.
I'm curious what you think is which.
You really want to know?
I would.
I have watched Barbie like 5 times over and over
Okay.
again.
Yeah.
Oppenheimer, good film.
Yeah.
Objectively, a quality film, well
Yep.
deserving of its praise. I have no instinct to go rewatch that.
I 100% agree. I
Like,
will probably see it again at some point because it is cool seeing Robert Downey Jr. doing literally fucking anything else with his career.
yeah,
But yeah, I very much agree. Barbie as like a cultural moment is just nowhere close to what Oppenheimer wants it to be.
yeah. Barbie, there's a lot more fun to go back to.
Yeah.
And I blame the cultural zeitgeist and social media for all of us thinking every movie has to be like some high quality cultural phenomenon and set our expectations for every theater going experience way fucking up. Venom, I go into expecting a punch in the face and told my fucking dreams will never happen. And I'm happy when I come out of those movies.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah.
On the other end of the spectrum this weekend, a movie that I had I saw a trailer for this, I think, back in August, maybe, and it kind of piqued my interest at the time because I was just like, oh, so that's Ray Fiennes. What's going on here? He's got good taste. Conclave is out now. This is so their synopsis here. Let me see if I can find a better one from Wikipedia. But I just generally expected this to do fairly well because Ray Fiennes he doesn't pick many movies that miss, right? He has the luxury of passing on the slop.
Yeah.
Like what was the last one? Was The Menu his last movie? Oh, that was what I wanted to do.
I don't know if it was.
Conclave. He's done some other stuff since. He's been doing a lot of stuff as the role of Roald Dahl, which is kind of interesting.
Oh,
The
yeah,
last that I very explicitly recognize is The Menu.
Didn't he do like those Wes Anderson Roald Dahl adaptations?
Apparently, yeah. There's a bunch of them where he plays Roald Dahl.
Yeah, badass.
Yep, and all generally seems to be very well received. So yeah, Conclave. Let me see if I can get like a Wikipedia summary here. Mystery thriller directed by Edward Berger, based on the 2016 novel. After the Pope dies of a heart attack, the College of Cardinals gathers in seclusion for a papal conclave to choose the new Pope, under the leadership of Cardinal Dean Thomas Lawrence. The college is surprised to meet Archbishop Bennett of Kabul, who explains that the old Pope secretly made him a cardinal. The 4 main candidates for Pope are 1. Bellini, a liberal in the vein of the late Pope; 2. Adeyemi, an economic progressive with socially conservative views; 3. Tremblay, a mainstream conservative; and 4. Tedesco, a traditionalist who wants to abandon parts of the Second Vatican Council, particularly the use of vernacular languages in Mass and the policy of peaceful coexistence with other religions. Tedesco is also a racist and mistreats his assistants. In addition, it is implied that Tremblay and Adeyemi used their positions in the Vatican bureaucracy to overwork the Pope to death. Bellini and Lawrence are the 2 leaders in the church's liberal wing, but neither claims to want the job. Bellini believes that feigning reluctance will earn voters' respect. Lawrence's position is more complicated, as he recently tried to resign his post as dean due to a crisis of faith. Although Lawrence votes for Bellini, Bellini senses that Lawrence is withholding his full support. Excuse me. Yeah. So this is like if you take, oh, what the hell is it? The Angels and Demons? Is that the one? With,
I don't remember.
I believe it is where the Tom Hanks is going into the Vatican to solve the Pope's murder before the conclave can end, because it's like a big conspiracy. It's like that, but all happening like inside the conclave room, which is pretty fucking cool, just as a concept. It's just like, yeah, let's do this Pope murder mystery drama thing all in one room, but there's like 500 people. So
I love the idea of this Pope murder cinematic universe.
Yeah. To be clear, completely detached from the angels and demons stuff.
Correct.
But yes, doing overwhelmingly positive numbers right now. 92% from critics, 82% from audiences. Not a ton of audience scores yet, but I'm very encouraged to see that, because what was the last good movie I saw? Alien Romulus? It's been a while. I'd like to see another good movie in a theater, you know?
Yeah, I get that.
So I'm glad to see this. I'll probably be trying to catch this at some point in the next couple of weeks while it's still in theaters. But Ralph Fiennes is unparalleled in the industry right now. It also has Stanley Tucci, who is just fucking awesome. John Lithgow's there. Just like, yeah, these people are sick. I massively respect them, and I'm looking forward to seeing this. So we have a bit of time left, unless you have some other stuff that you would like to go through first.
Nah, I think we've got a good point.
Okay. Well, do you want to talk about the Magic the Gathering stuff that's going on?
Oh, you mean the new like imprint series they're basically doing, where every other set is just a crossover?
Magic the Gathering is Weiss Schwartz now.
It's Fortnite. What are you talking about?
Something that I do want to make a shout out for. There is a creative in the Magic community who goes by the name Ristic Studies, who is one of the most talented and well-spoken and written voices in the Magic community, possibly of all time. He has a particular emphasis in his work focusing on the themes, visual languages, the connections between cards and the stories that they tell and the mechanics that they have, and from that, how they are received and resonate with the player base. I highly recommend the entirety of his body of work on YouTube under the name Ristic Studies. It is some of the best work being done in the space of Magic the Gathering today, bar none. He is exceptional. He put out a fairly, well written, or not fairly well written, a very well written but fairly good sized Substack post talking about his feelings on the news that was released over this weekend in regard to Magic the Gathering relegating half of its release schedule for the foreseeable future to non-Magic the Gathering intellectual properties.
I have no problem with the ones they announced ahead of time.
Yep.
Because, like, fair game. You've already said that. You've already set the expectation.
Yep.
Why? You know the one I'm talking about. Yeah.
There's two main... Honestly, because you're talking about the SpongeBob thing, right?
Fuck the SpongeBob thing, dude.
It's dumb. I don't care about it that much, honestly. It's like they already literally did Fortnite, right?
Yeah.
The shark has jumped in that regard of just like, what's the dumbest thing we can do a crossover for? The only thing that they have yet to do would be if they do like a Pepsi Man crossover. That would be another step. Like if there's like a consumer good on a Magic card, like Pepsi or Mountain Dew or Doritos or something like that. But for me, there's two aspects.
Sorry.
Yeah, there's two aspects of what was announced over this weekend that just make me sad. Honestly, it's frustrating to have to just sit here and know that these decisions happened years ago and that we've just been getting lied to from Wizards of the Coast in all of the time since these decisions were made as to how they were going to be handled. I'm trying to see if I can find it. But yeah, here we go. 3 years ago, Wizards of the Coast, at the onset of their Universes Beyond project, in a blog post stated, Universes Beyond's cards will not be standard legal. We strive to make Magic cards that are widely useful, but Universes Beyond will be above and well beyond our normal standard releases. So nothing much is changing with our normal cadence of releases for standard. This is purely a cool thing we're doing in addition to all the other cool things we're already doing. That was published in 2021. Magic sets are generally made on a timeline of about 2 to 3 years ahead of time.
Yeah.
It is not unreasonable to make the assumption that at the time this was published, someone in Wizards of the Coast knew this was a bold-faced lie. That not only were Universes Beyond, not only was Universes Beyond going to continue to expand into greater and greater products and taking up space on the calendar year, but that it would be or was planning at some level to be legal in standard. And at the very least, in the year following the publication of this statement, it would have been widely known at Wizards of the Coast that this was the plan. And the only way I feel like it is reasonable to describe it is being lied to.
No, I agree.
And that fucking sucks.
Yeah.
I'm going to read the opening piece to Ristic Studies Substack post here. It is called "Your Foundation is Rotten: On Magic's Relentless Crossovers and the Erosion of Good Faith." The Walking Dead was the canary's call that we were told to ignore. We were accused of overreacting. It was just 5 cards, and they weren't good enough to be relevant anywhere. But neither was a television show at that point, so the concept felt a little odd and out of place, all things considered. When the set did gangbusters, we were lectured about invisible people who care about magic beyond our little internet bubbles. The gas burns brightest from street lamps just above your wary head. 4 years have passed. The boundaries between our game and their media franchises have melted away, and Magic is now designating itself an IP within its own flagship presentations. What are we doing here? The real turn of the knife for me is that not only are Universes Beyond going to be taking up half of all of the releases for the foreseeable future, not only are they going to be legal as far back as standard releases, pervading literally every format that evolves as new sets release, standard, pioneer, modern, which has already kind of had the ship leave, but limited as well. You can't go to a pre-release in some of the cases of the upcoming year for a period of almost 6 months without the in-set being a Universes Beyond set. But for me, the real problem with this is that it has categorically displaced sets that should have been Magic's own. We were told that a return to Lorwyn was expected in the end of 2025, and that's no longer the case. It's been delayed to some point in 2026. We haven't been told explicitly yet, and we probably won't know until the end of 2025 about this time next year. And the willingness for them to do that, to not even pretend to want to ease into this new paradigm by only taking up a third of the entire calendar year of their products, but to jump straight to 3 out of 6 and shove a very highly anticipated upcoming set so unceremoniously to the future at some point speaks to the just lack of care that is being taken right now. So, yeah. I'm sure Hasbro being Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast being Wizards of the Coast, this is going to be a massive financial success, because of course it will be. Why wouldn't it be?
You know,
but
yeah.
I wish that wasn't the only metric that they measured against.
I can understand the business decision behind doing all the crossovers. Don't get me wrong. And it sucks. Yeah. Like, you know, once in a while, cool detail.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm saying this as someone who's only bought crossover sets recently. However, putting that in standard is so disingenuous to the sport they made.
Yep.
You think they would just set up their own like format just for the Universe Beyond collabs, but
Oh, they've been trying to run interference to talk about that, how that was an idea that they had. But at this point, it's just the fact that they've lied about so much at this point that I don't trust them to just continue to lie. It's worked out for them so far. Why would they stop now?
I mean, what are the players going to do? Not buy things? Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty much. I do find it very ironic. Seems to be... I don't even know how to... I've been really struggling to find the words to describe this, and I'm very thankful that Ristic Studies put out this piece that he wrote, because it captures a lot of the emotions that I've been feeling far better than I've been able to express them the last couple of days. But there's just this feeling of just like, okay, you are chasing this thing because you are saying that people like it. And in doing so, you are saying that the thing that I like doesn't matter as much now. And the attempts to dance around that both in direct ways by, quoting sales numbers and player interests, things that we can't actually confirm for ourselves because they're all private information, to just not acknowledge that this thing sucks for some people. I think that's what a lot of people just want. Just acknowledge that your decision for some people sucks.
Yeah.
And they won't do it.
The stock prices, though.
And on that note, I think we'll be back after the presidential election.
Yeah.
It's going to be a long 2 weeks.
It's going to be a long week and a half. Okay, you want to put any predictions in so we can look like we're really fucking smart when we come back?
I think it's going to be eerily reminiscent of the 2020 election.
Oh, yeah. I think we're running on 2020 part 2.
Yep. Georgia, Arizona will be the, very close total popular votes, right? They're going to be going into recounts because it'll be less than 0.5%. And it'll take a long time. I guess if I had to make a hot take, I don't think that we will have I'm just going to say we're not going to have a result on the night of the 5th. We'll have early numbers, but there is just too much happening. We're a lot better prepared than we were in 2020, but it'll be in the days following because there's going to have to be recounts, and that just takes time. And the, Republican assholes in the states that they are in have made sure that in the event that a recount has to happen, it will be a painful and slow process.
Yeah.
So
I agree. And it's not going to be fun. I envision that there's going to be quite an implosion by some very unsavory people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm fully confident, like 85% sure Kamala can win this. And I think that when she does win this, there's going to be a lot of heels buried in.
Yep.
And I know the people who are more than likely going to bury in their heels and those who are going to fight it because they have to fight it. And it's going to be really fucking annoying. And I might just delete my Twitter account because it's going to get that annoying.
Yeah, blue sky is blooming. I highly rate it.
That's a great segue. I'm Neef Orion, and I am right for some political propaganda, even though my decisions are already made.
And I'm Kyril, and I've been a schmo.
And this has been the Two Schmoes Show. If we come back without a license, on a broadcast license, you'll know what happened.